So let me just go into email blasts really quickly. You have Yahoo groups, you have Google groups. It's free. The problem is you're tied to them, and they're going to put their ads at the bottom of everything. You don't have as much control as you might want. If you go with a hosting solution, most of them come with a easy install. The software that the hosting solution will offer is called Fantastico. Just spelled the way it sounds, and they will say we offer Fantastico, and that is a bed of programs where you just click, and it's a single install for two key programs. One is called Mailman. The other one is PHP List. Mailman is a very, very old program from the beginning of the internet, which was a basic list software where you have an email address where it sends it out to a group, and you can either set it so that everyone on the group can send to each other, or it's just announce only. Yes?
Can you talk a little bit about Google Wave?
Yes. Wait, can I finish on PHP? So, PHP List is a little bit of a better program than Mailman, which just sends and receives. It will tell you how you can enable features that allow you to find out whether or not people are reading your emails, how many people are opening it. It allows you to send HTML and text-based emails. It's a very good and strong program, and based on your server, you can send out between 500 emails an hour or an infinite amount, as much as your server will hold. The great thing about PHP List is it's also a little bit of a client relationship management, which is you can enable it so that when somebody signs up for your list, you ask questions like age, ethnicity, gender, do you care about where are you on gay marriage? You can ask anything you want, you can configure it. It does take a lot of technical knowledge, but it is one of the better solutions that I recommend. And again, once you pay that $1.99 for your hosting, it is free because it's an open source piece of software.
Where'd you get that?
Fantastico?
Yeah, where do I go?
So it's the same, that was the one thing I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
So although Google and Yahoo is free, you have to have a hosting company to get the Fantastico install piece. You have to install it to your domain.
Yeah, you don't pick it, the hosting company picks it.
Exactly.
So when you're looking at hosting companies, you would ask them, do you have Fantastico? And if they say yes, you go with them, you get it. But it's not something you get yourself directly. As to the question about Google Wave, don't worry about it. Seriously, like this is something I see, and I don't mean that necessarily as a slam at Google, but this is something I see a lot of people spin their wheels with, and I want to make the point that one of the key elements of online communications is you want to make your message as accessible as possible. And the newer something is, the less accessible it is, the smaller the audience it has. Email at this point in time is kind of uncool, but it is still by far the most broadly accessible, widely used service on the internet. And so following that is the web, and then after that is everything else. So I deal with lots of folks who come to me, because I work for a partnership of unions, I have lots of folks who come to me from those unions for advice, and they say, well, we need a Facebook strategy. And I'm like, do you have an email list? No. Okay, go get an email list, and when you've got 100,000 people on your email list, then you can start worrying about a Facebook strategy. Like that's, build the email list, build the website, and then if you have resources left over after that, if you have things that you cannot do with those tools, then you look at the broader, the newer, snazzier stuff. At least that's my recommendation. It's probably why I don't get invited to speak at a lot of conferences. But
just a little bit on Google Wave, and that is it's trying to be another communication model where it's trying to link people together in a single conversation. And I'm saying trying because it hasn't been proven that it's successful yet. So it's a new fangled, new shiny tech toy, and people like to talk about new stuff when we haven't quite figured out the old stuff. So that's always a challenge. But the other piece about it is that until it's connected some way to other mediums, it's still another place you have to go to have a conversation and get more people to somehow sign up or get invites. And that takes, I don't know, days sometimes. So it's a very, right now, don't worry about it. It's not where you're trying to be.
There's one piece that I did leave out when it came to mailing lists. Built into WordPress and Drupal and all these other solutions usually is a module where you can register on a site. I can't speak to the free versions, but I know that if you have your own hosted version, a person can register on your site, and then once you have accumulated a number of people who have registered, and again, you can control your registration, you can send a blast out from the website. So that allows you to have an announce type list.
I would just also say, I think Constant Contact for nonprofits still is cheap, I think free for a certain number, and then you start to pay a small amount per number in between that. So that's another good opportunity to use that. And I think Groundspring,
So I didn't go into the more commercial ones, but like Constant
Okay.
Contact is a really good idea. NetAtlantic, there's tons of people who offer a more commercial, and they're going to be charging about $30 a month.
Right.
And that's for like 2,000 people. And as you start to have problems like 100,000 users, you're going to be paying $150 a month. But that's really cheap to be able to hit a list of 100,000 people once a week and so on and so forth. We have Charles here.
This is executive privilege. One of our sponsors is Network for Good, who have been around for a long time, and they are a low-cost but not free device of this kind, and you should know about it. The other thing is, if you're a 501c3 doing less than 10,000 emails per month, you can use Vertical Response for free. Which, again, for very low traffic lists is very cool. And finally, all these information, this comparison and costs, you can get a report at the end of the room and online at the website of Idealware. They actually have reports that are not only comparing the features and costs of these tools, but they also have surveys of people sort of saying how pleased they are with that particular product. And Idealware is independent. They're not supported by the vendors of these tools. And if you're trying to figure out what software you should use, or even how do we decide what software we want to use, Idealware might be your first stop.